so far. So, okay.
Now, what were you saying? Sorry.
I said that I started my revision from the day one today
Okay.
because I
So
haven't done it in
no.
these days. So nothing today. Yeah.
Okay.
One of these days, then by tomorrow, I'll catch up with the current thing.
Okay, yeah, it will be faster catching up actually. When
Yeah.
we do this while listening, it's much slower.
Yeah.
Okay, then
Yes.
let's resume
Yes,
from
please.
where we had paused. I'll share my screen and the audio. Okay. Now, what was the timestamp exactly?
युद्ध की मजबूती, अपराधों की विफलता, गलतियों की कतार, यही इतिहास में भरी हुई है, पन्ने रंगे हुए हैं। ये गवाही
We covered this.
इन गवाहियों के साथ यदि हम इसका समाधान खोजते हैं, इसके मूल में इन सभी इस परिस्थितियों को बनाने वाला केवल आदमी ही है। ना तो पत्थर बनाया है, ना जीव बनाया है, ना वनस्पति बनाया है। केवल आदमी ही ये तीन प्रकार की जो कर्म शुरू किया, वो उस कर्म को आदमी ने ही शुरू किया।
Right. So this is around where we had stopped yesterday, है ना? That it is only human. No. No. We were a bit ahead of this actually. We were talking about his samadhi and how come he.
क्योंकि समस्या की पीड़ा से तो पीड़ित होकर के समाधि की ओर दौड़ता है। ये बात आपको विदित कराई। तो हम केवल हमारा प्रश्नों का उत्तर पाने के लिए दौड़े थे, वो मिला नहीं। उस स्थिति में मैं अब समाधि हुआ नहीं हुआ इस बात को परिशीलन करने के लिए शुरुआत किया। वो
Right. So you're saying, as I had already mentioned, there is no control or balance in thought found before samadhi, as I can testify based on my own experience. And upon samadhi also, there are no answers that are really attained. And in fact, there is no sense of desire for any answers even left at that point. And I was able to find this because I wanted to, it happened in the course of trying to establish, to verify, to evidence that I had actually attained the state of samadhi.
परिशीलन विधि में यह सब चीज सौभाग्य, मानव के पुण्यवश, मानव के भविष्यवश, मानव के माने सर्व शुभवश, सर्व कल्याणवश ये बात निकल के आ गई।
Thanks to Manav, thanks to the punya of that humans have, I was able to attain these answers. I found these answers not in the course of examining and or verifying my samadhi status, but I would say that I received this answer thanks to humankind's collective punya. Punya, I could roughly translate to say collectively earned goodwill. It's like the astral brownie points, you could say. There's no real translation for punya. It's the opposite of sins. Then, or you could say that it was thanks to humankind's, or for the sake of humankind's future that I found these answers, or thanks to universal welfare, or for universal welfare, that existence sort of kind of handed this to me, not as a personal achievement, but as an achievement of and for humankind. Sarva kalyan vashava, for welfare.
ये बात सच्चाई है।
This I have, these things that I'm telling you, that the answers that I found, the knowledge that I found, this has not come out of books. That is the truth.
किसी बुजुर्गों ने हमको यदि मार्गदर्शन किया है, आप पुरुषों ने वो इतने ही हैं। समाधि से ही ये सब का उत्तर मिलेगा। समाधि मुझको हुआ नहीं हुआ,
And if I received any guidance from my elders or from any renowned persons of knowledge in tradition, then the only guidance that I ever received was regarding samadhi. And all they said was that you will find your answers in samadhi. That is the only guidance I received.
हुआ इसी को प्रमाणित करने के लिए हमने संयम किया। संयम के बलबूते पर ये तमाम बातें निकल गई जो आपके पास तक पहुंचाने के लिए योग सुयोग बन गए।
And in order to verify that I had attained samadhi, I did sanyam. And in order to evidence that I had attained samadhi, I did sanyam. And thanks to sanyam, on the basis of sanyam, all this knowledge sort of emerged. And my sharing it with you happened to, and it's thanks to the sanyam that this knowledge emerged and I got it. And then a lot of situations and Yog Sanyog is basically, Yog is for things to come together and Sanyog is for things to come together fortuitously. So you could say serendipitously. I have been able to share this knowledge with you.
ये क्यों बना पूछने पर यही मिलता है, ये पहले भी बताया था, ये तरंगवत है सारा समझदारी मानव का। पहले जंगल युग में और शिला युग में, धातु युग में जैसा ही जिया, ये सब इतिहास में लिखी हुई है। जैसा ही राजयुग आया, कपिला युग।
Okay, so how did these fortuitous events come into being such that I am able to share this knowledge with all of humankind now? And for that, the answer, as I had already sort of mentioned earlier, is that the knowledge of humankind happens in waves, tarangvat here. In such, and what I mean by that is, first we were in the age of forests, jungle yug. It's like saying stone age, but he's calling it forest age, when we lived in the forest. Then there was the stone age, and then after that came the age of various metals. And after that, the way that humans continued to live has been documented in our history textbooks.
में लिखी हुई है। जैसा ही राजयुग आया, कपिला युग, ग्राम युग से राजयुग जैसे ही आया, तो काफी लोगों ने राहत पाया, राजा जान माल का रक्षा करेगा।
Then, as soon as the age of kings arrived or monarchies arrived, from after and this happened after the age of villages, of tribes and villages. As soon as this age of monarchies and kings arrived, people found some sort of relief. They were relieved and reassured because they felt that the kings will protect our lives and our belongings.
जबकि वो चीज अभी तक हुआ नहीं, जान माल की रक्षा हुआ नहीं है, अमन चैन तो बहुत दूर है।
However, whereas that has not occurred even till now, our life and our belongings are still not secure, and peace and tranquility is, something very far from our reach even now.
ये दो बात को सोचा गया था, ना तो अमन चैन के बारे में हम आश्वस्त हुए हैं, नहीं ये जो जान माल की रक्षा होती है, इसमें भी हम आत्मनिर्भर नहीं हुए।
So these were the two things that were thought when people opted for the age of kings, that there will be some sort of peace and tranquility, and that there will be some security regarding our life and our belonging. And both of these have not been neither of these have been secured, even till date. Neither have we become secure in our life and in our belongings, and nor is there any sort of peace and tranquility in society.
तो हर परिवार, हर समुदाय इसी बात के लिए चिंतित रहता है कैसे जान माल का रक्षा किया जाए और अमन चैन से जिया कैसे जाए। इसको अभी तक भी समुदाय तक ही मनुष्य सोच पा रहा है।
So every family is concerned about these issues today. That how should we secure and protect our lives and our belongings, and how do we protect it, and how do we ensure peace and ease of interaction among with outsiders. And this is a concern faced by every single family or group and community, and it is only till the level of community, till the stage of community up till which humans have actually been able to think up till now. We've only expanded our horizons till the level of my community. We have grown beyond myself to my family, and from my family to my community, but not beyond that. Right, this bit was my explanation, a little bit to elaborate on what you were saying.
ये स्थिति सबको विदित है। इन तथ्यों को हम ध्यान में रखने पर पता लगता है ये जो आदर्शवादी सीढ़ी लगी, जिससे लोगों को जो कुछ भी राहत मिली तत्काल, और जो वो राहत कुछ काल के बाद पर्याप्त नहीं हुई।
So, based on these facts, so all of this is what has been described is everyone is pretty much aware of this at this point. And based on these facts, one can easily see that this stage of mystical idealism and all the relief that it offered humanity, well, that relief did not suffice. It did not provide enough relief, and we went looking for more.
ये पुनर्स्मरण दिला रहे हैं।
This is something that I'm reminding you of once again.
पुनः जब अपर्याप्त हुआ, स्वाभाविक था, पुनः विचार हुई, विचार के रूप में पुनः ये विज्ञानवाद आया। तो
So since it was dissatisfactory, therefore there was naturally a rethinking and a reappraisal of all of this, and then as a result of that, we reached Vigyanvad. Vigyanvad is the age of science, basically.
तर्क सम्मत विधि से आया, उसमें एक को भी लोगों को स्वीकृत हुई। पहले उपदेशवाद में तर्क का कोई गुंजाइश नहीं थी।
So then, once science arrived, it brought with it, it was logical, it was a rational way of thinking. And earlier, in idealism, in the mystical idealism, it followed Updeshvad. Updeshvad is basically a system of sermons. Updesh is sermons and Vad is a system. So idealism was a system that followed sermons, whereas Vigyanvad or materialism or science was a system that hoped to follow logic and reason. So in this sermonic, system of sermons within idealism, there was no room for logic.
करो ना करो बात थी। करो ना करो में ना मानने वाले आदमियों को उनको पापी करार देते रहे, उनको जितना प्रताड़ित करना है वो भी करते रहे। वो सब इतिहासों में लिखा है।
in idealism, it was all about do this and don't do that. And if you did not follow what was sermonized regarding doing that, this or that, then those people were declared sinners. And then whatever was done to sinners, whatever ways these so-called sinners were tortured, all of that has been well documented in history.
उसके बाद उससे ये निकला जो आदर्शवाद की जितने भी करो ना करो है वो सामान्य व्यक्तियों के लिए, किसी व्यक्तियों के लिए पर्याप्त नहीं हुआ। इसीलिए उसका विकल्प के लिए कुछ सोचा गया। सोचने पर विज्ञानवाद आ गया। विज्ञान
So, because of all of this, one thing that we can conclude is that this sort of sermonizing idealism was not sufficient for some people, for several people living within those societies, and therefore they began to rethink these questions, and as a result of that, what arrived was science.
उसका विकल्प के लिए कुछ सोचा गया। सोचने पर
As an
विज्ञानवाद आ
alternative.
गया। विज्ञानवाद आ गया तो एक दावा किया कि तर्क संगत विज्ञान, तर्क संगत।
So as an alternative to this, they thought of, so something was thought of as an alternative, and what emerged was science. And for science, the claim was made that it is rational, that it is logical.
संगत भौतिकवाद, ऐसा कहा। इसी को विज्ञान कहा गया।
Tark sangat bhautikvad. Now, this science was a rational materialism. That is what was science, a rational materialism.
तर्क संगत तर्क के लिए जब आमंत्रण हुई, लोगों में एक राहत मिली। हम कम से कम हमारा मन की बात तो पूछ तो सकते हैं। इस विधि से आदमी।
So when this logic and reason was put forth and people were invited to participate in this rational dialogue, people found that to be quite a relief as well, because they felt that at least now at least we can satisfy all that goes on in our minds, because all of that is now valid and open to reasoning.
उस ओर कम से कम हमारा मन की बात तो पूछ तो सकते हैं। इस विधि से आदमी उस ओर दौड़ गया। दूसरा जो हमको,
And that is why people ran towards this, in this direction, towards science and materialism.
जो कुछ भी वैभव मिलना था, सुख मिलना था, वो स्वर्ग में मिलना था, वो यहीं मिलने लग गए। इसीलिए भी दौड़ लिए। इस ढंग से
Secondly, all the greatness and happiness that one was to achieve in heaven was made available on this earth in this very life. And so people found that to be appealing, and so they ran towards it for this reason as well.
दो विधि से आदमी विज्ञान और विज्ञान की उपलब्धि की ओर दौड़ा।
In these two ways, and for these two reasons, humans ran towards science and science's accomplishments.
उसको भी खूब चख लिया आदमी, काफी ढंग से। अब बचा कुचा होगा तो चख भी लिएगा। ये चलते
That too, humans have now relished. Chak bhi liya means that he's tasted it. This materialism also man has experienced and relished for quite a while. And if there is any relishing left to do within this materialism, then he will do that as well.
ढंग से अब बचा कुचा होगा तो चख भी लिएगा। ये चलते मनुष्य को आज ये पता लग गई, विज्ञान की उपलब्धियां मनुष्य के लिए पर्याप्त नहीं है।
And in having tasted and enjoyed all the fruits of materialism, man has also come to realize that the achievements of science and materialism are also not enough to suffice to satisfy our needs. to satisfy ourselves.
इस पर्याप्त नहीं है, ये सो झंझट फंसी और उससे कैसा उभरा जाए। अभी तो आदमी झूलता ही रहता है, ये विरक्ति की बात करते हैं, भक्ति की बात करते हैं।
So this was not satisfactory. That was a a crisis, a problem of its own, of itself. But then, what would even be the answer, the solution to that? Because now, after realizing that it's a problem and that it does not suffice, humans continue to swing back and forth. On one side, they keep talking about devotion and virakti is isolation, or basically to leave asceticism, essentially. Devotion and asceticism. On one side, they talk. One is propounding devotion and asceticism, and on the other side, they're talking about.
दूसरी ओर संग्रह सुविधा की ही बात करते हैं। संग्रह सुविधा से जब त्रस्त होते हैं, भक्ति विरक्ति की ओर हम दौड़ते हैं। भक्ति विरक्ति से जब पैर ठंडा हो जाता है, तो संग्रह सुविधा की ओर दौड़ लेते हैं।
And on the other side, they're propounding sangrah suvidha. Sangrah is accumulation and suvidha is resource. So accumulation and enjoyment of resources. So when we've suffered enough from devotion and asceticism, we run towards this accumulation and resources. And when we've suffered enough from accumulation and enjoying resources, we run towards devotion and asceticism, and we keep running back and forth.
इस प्रकार से हम अपने हाथ पैर गर्म करने के लिए ये झूले में झूलते ही रह जाते हैं।
In this way, अपने हाथ पैर गर्म करने के लिए is basically to comfort ourselves. It literally means to warm our hands and feet. हम इस झूले में झूलते रहते हैं. So in this way, we comfort ourselves and continue to swing on this pendulum, back and forth between these two.
और दोनों सुनने में अच्छा ही लगता है। जो अच्छा लगना अच्छा होने में कितना दूर है, अब हर व्यक्ति अपने में सोच सकता है।
We continue to swing on this pendulum to comfort ourselves, and anyway, both of these sound very nice. सुनने में अच्छा लगता है, which means that it feels good to hear both the logics, both these narratives, whether it is of science or of idealism. When you hear both of them feel nice to hear. Literally, it means feel nice to hear, and I'm focusing on the words because it becomes important moving forward. It says there is a difference between what feels good and what is actually good. So it feels good to hear both of them, but is it actually good?
अच्छा लगने मात्र से अच्छा होता नहीं है, ठीक है। जैसा ठंडा पानी पीने से अच्छा लगता है, ठंडा पानी पीने से अच्छा होना है, ऐसा कोई नियम नहीं है।
Just by feeling good, that it must also be good, there is no such law in nature. Just like it might feel good to drink cold water, but that doesn't mean that it must naturally also be good to be drinking water.
ठंडा पानी से आदमी को रोग हो सकता है, खांसी हो सकता है, जुकाम हो सकता है, जैसा मैं खांसता हूँ कभी कभी, ये सब बातें हो सकता है। तो उसके बावजूद भी आदमी को ठंडा पानी अच्छा लगता है, किसी को।
On drinking water, one can fall sick, one can develop a cough or a cold, like I cough sometimes. And yet, some people like the feeling of cold water. Some people also don't like the feeling of cold water.
किसी को ठंडा पानी अच्छा लगवे नहीं करता है, अब क्या करें?
Now what to do?
ठंडा पानी के अच्छा लगना कोई सार्वभौम नहीं हुआ, ठंडा पानी का अच्छा ना लगना भी कोई सार्वभौम नहीं हुआ। दोनों स्थितियों में पानी के आधार पर अच्छा हो गया, ये निर्धारण करना, निश्चय करना और उसके ऊपर आदमी को भरोसा दिलाना, ये कभी बनने वाला नहीं है।
So some people like the feeling of cold water, others dislike the feeling of cold water. On this basis, it's very difficult to say that cold water is universally good or that it is universally bad. On the basis of how it feels, there is no way to establish, to certify universally that water is good, well, either cold or otherwise, based on how it feels to anyone, what it feels like.
और उसके ऊपर आदमी को भरोसा दिलाना, ये कभी बनने वाला नहीं है।
So there's no way to establish it, no way to certify any universal principle of whether cold water is good or bad based on how it feels. And there is no way you can then even, manage to confer any confidence in anyone about it. You can't convince anyone also based on how it feels. Like you can't say cold water universally feels good, therefore cold water is good, because no one will believe that. No one can be convinced with that because there is no such universal principle.
जब जैसा चाहता है वैसा पिएगा भाई, जब अच्छा लगता है, जब जो अच्छा लगता है वही खाएगा, वही पिएगा, यही हम पहुंचते हैं। इस ढंग से हम एक अस्थिरता, अनिश्चयता की ओर चले जाते हैं।
All you will reach is that when it feels good, and however it feels whenever you have to drink water, you drink it that way, you drink it your way. Everyone drinks water the way they feel like having it in that moment. And that is the only point one can reach using this basis of how things feel to us. And that sort of point of uncertainty and indefiniteness is where we have reached with this sort of thinking.
विज्ञानवादियों ने इस बात को अपनाया है, तो केवल खाना पीना ही नहीं भाई, जो कुछ भी आप देखते हो सब अनिश्चय, अस्थिर है, वो ऐसा बताने के लिए अपना तर्क जोड़े।
This is the sort of argument that science has adopted. So, and it is not just for this sort of argument of indefiniteness and uncertainty that science has adopted. And sorry, I think I missed something.
तो केवल खाना पीना ही नहीं भाई, जो कुछ भी आप देखते हो सब अनिश्चय।
And it's not just for drinking and eating and such preferences, but they hold this view for everything that one can see and observe in existence. So everything in existence then is uncertain and indefinite according to science.
अस्थिर है, वो ऐसा बताने के लिए अपना तर्क जोड़े,
For that
उसी की
they
पुष्टि के लिए सब कुछ किया।
prepared some logic.
अंततोगत्वा त्राण प्राण, विज्ञान का त्राण प्राण मनुष्य को एक यंत्र के रूप में व्याख्यायित करने की कोशिश की।
And finally, the final pran basically means the ultimate defense and the ultimate essence of science is that they've tried to define humans, or they've tried to describe humans as a machine.
वो अभी तक सफल नहीं हो पाया। वही विज्ञानी जिसको यंत्र के रूप में व्याख्यायित करता है, वो स्वयं उससे संतुष्ट रहता नहीं है, तो बाकी लोगों को व्याख्यायित करके बताना ही चाहते हैं। ये आज की एक बहुत बड़ी भारी मुद्दा मानी जाती है। मनुष्य को यांत्रिक विधि को बिल्कुल पूरा समझना चाहिए।
That is the so scientists, that is the ultimate essence and defense of science, that they try to describe humans as a machine, but in this they have not as yet succeeded, because even the scientist who claims that the human is like a machine themselves don't believe in this. And so having to proclaim this and having to say having to propound that humans are nothing but mechanical machines is one of the major processes that major activities in science today. Basically, there's a lot of discourse on this, and there's a lot of conversation around it.
तो तभी आदमी जो है व्यवहार में स्पीड, विचार में स्पीड, कार्यों में स्पीड, सब में पा पाता है, ऐसा सोचते हैं। जब भी
So this discourse and all of that, it is only when you it is through such a perspective and through embodying such logic that you'll be able to you'll even try to and be able to reach some sort of speed in behavior, speed in thought, speed in action. And that is what the goal is also set as in this entire logical framework.
आदमी उस सीमा में आता नहीं, तो संवेदनशीलता यांत्रिकता, इन दोनों के पक्ष में से विज्ञान के अनुसार यांत्रिकता सटीक है। इसमें इसको आदमी समझ सकता है, झेल सकता है। संवेदनशीलता
So this speed in behavior and speed in thought and speed in action, in all these things you can't really encapsulate the human and the human experience. And out of and therefore science has been unable to. And out of these two options that are sensitivity or sensoriality and yantrikta or a mechanistic view. So samvedanshilta is one, which I'm translating as sensitivity or sensoriality. And the other is yantrikta, which is this mechanistic view. Science opts for the latter, for the mechanistic approach. And within this, because they feel it is explainable, whereas the idealists propound sensitivity or sensoriality. And that is neither explicable nor is it tolerable. And so science prefers to opt for this mechanistic approach.
इसमें इसको आदमी समझ सकता है, झेल सकता है। संवेदनशीलता को ना समझ सकता है, झेल नहीं सकता है। जो आदर्शवादियों ने संवेदनशीलता की वकालत की थी।
Because they opt for the latter, because at least humans can understand it and they can tolerate this mechanistic approach to understanding humans. Whereas the idealists had advocated for sensitivity.
वकालत करते हुए में भी वो जो दूरियां थी, जो वो समझ सकता है, ये समझ नहीं सकता है, ये झंझट थी, वो बरकरार रहे। इसीलिए एक के बाद एक समस्याएं जकड़ते गए। हम समस्याओं के कगार में ही, माने कतार में ही पैदा होते हैं, समुद्र में ही शरीर यात्रा शुरू करते हैं।
So even though the idealists had advocated for sensitivity, there was always this question of this person can understand and they cannot understand. And it is only, there was the sense of exclusivity of understanding within the idealistic tradition. And therefore there were many problems that emerged, and we found ourselves getting trapped in the multitude of problems that emerged from this exclusivity and lack of real understanding that emerged from such idealistic thoughts. We were born in this ocean of problems, and we take our
वही समस्या के सागर में ही पुनः शरीर यात्रा को समाप्त करते हैं। कुल मिलाकर
we lived within the ocean of problems, and it is in this ocean of problems itself that we also finish and our life's journey.
करके इस ढंग से हमारा स्थिति बनी। अभी जो मानव जाति के, मानव कुल के सम्मुख मैं जो एक प्रस्ताव रख रहा हूँ, ये मानव कुल का ही पुण्य है, ऐसा पहला मेरा स्वीकृति है।
Now the proposal that I am presenting before humankind is a fruit of the earned collective goodwill of humankind itself. That is my first svikriti. Like, this is how I have chosen to accept it.
हमारा व्यक्तिगत रूप में हम जो कुछ भी परिश्रम किए, उसका हम मूल्यांकन करता हूं, वो इतने बड़े फल के योग्य नहीं है।
If I look at my personal effort involved in reaching this, I find that it is not capable. The amount of effort I put was not capable of attaining such a huge result.
हम जितना परिश्रम किया, वो परिश्रम का यदि नापदंड तय किया जाए, मैं अपने में तो करता ही हूं, जितना परिश्रम किया उतने में जो हम फल पा गए, वो फल जो है इतना फल के योग्य नहीं है, इतना बड़ा फल के योग्य नहीं है।
If I were to create some sort of measure of my effort, as I do in myself, I create some sort of measure of all the effort that I put in towards this. And then if I were to make some sort of measurement of the result that I have reached, this entire knowledge that I gained, I find that the amount of effort that I put is nowhere near the amount of result that I reached.
जैसा उसका एक अलंकारिक रूप में एक वैसे ही एक सोचने की बात है। तो एक बिही का झाड़ हो, एक जामुन का झाड़ हो, एक और कोई छोटे छोटे फल फलने वाली बात हो, अथवा नारियल का झाड़ हो, तो उस झाड़ में, एक झाड़ में यदि 1000 टन की एक फल फल जाए, वो झाड़े नहीं रहेगा।
So if I were to, think of this in a metaphorical way, imagine if there were a guava tree or a jamun tree or any tree which has small fruits, or even say a coconut tree. So if it is as though there were such a tree which tends to bear small fruit, and on such a tree, a fruit weighing 1,000 tons were to erupt, what would happen then? The tree would itself no longer remain. The tree would break down if 1,000-ton fruit were to bear 1,000-ton fruit. The tree itself would break.
वो तो असंभव सा लगता है, तो ये
Seems
झाड़ के लिए
impossible.
उपयुक्त है ही नहीं, ऐसा लगता है। उसी भांति बिही में एक बिही का,
So it's not possible for one tree to bear a fruit weighing 1,000 tons. It seems impossible. So similarly, in the same way,
झाड़ हो, 1 टन की एक बिही फल जाए, वो तो झाड़े टूट करके बराबर ना हो जाएगा, ऐसा देखा जा सकता है। कल्पना ऐसे ही दौड़ता है। उसी बात ही हमारा भी साथ ऐसे ही ये घटना है, हमारा परिश्रम से अधिक बात।
So if a guava tree were to bear 1,000-ton fruit, then it would break down in itself. Similarly, it is as though I bore the fruit of an effort much greater than I was possibly capable of putting in, which was much greater than the effort any one human being was possibly capable of putting in.
ये परिश्रम से अधिक बात को कौन दोहराता है भाई? ये बात इसमें मुख्य है। तो मनुष्य में जो परिश्रम से अधिक फल को कौन दोहराता है, ये बात आता है। उसको हम सटीक देखा है। जीवन दोहराता है, जीवन ऐसे
So who is this entity that is capable of bearing a fruit much greater than the effort put in? Who is capable of bearing fruits that are much greater than its own finite limit? So the answer to that is, it is only the Jeevan which is capable of bearing such a fruit much greater than its efforts.
फल को लेकर चलने में समर्थ है। कैसे? जीवन को हम अक्षय बल, अक्षय शक्ति के रूप में देखा है। आपको अभी
Jeevan is that entity which is capable of bearing and taking along, bearing and carrying a fruit which is much greater than itself. And how is that possible? That is possible because the Jeevan has inexhaustible bal and inexhaustible shakti. So inexhaustible bal is inexhaustible power, and inexhaustible shakti, which is force.
अध्ययन कराते हैं, अक्षय शक्ति के रूप में देखा है। आपको अभी अध्ययन कराते हैं, आपको समझाते हैं। आप जिज्ञासु हो तो आप समझ भी सकते हैं, ये भी सच्चाई है।
So the Jeevan has inexhaustible power and inexhaustible force, and I have understood this, and I will help you study this as well. And if you are truly curious, you will understand it.
आप जिज्ञासु हो तो आप समझ भी सकते हैं, ये भी सच्चाई है। आपको जरूरत नहीं पड़ा है, आप समझेंगे नहीं, ये भी सच्चाई है। आपको जरूरत हो गई है, आप समझेंगे। मेरा विश्वास है।
So, if you are curious, you will certainly understand it. And if you are not curious, you will certainly not understand it. So, what was the second part?
आपको जरूरत हो गई है, आप समझेंगे। मेरा विश्वास है आपको जरूरत है।
I believe that you have need.
इसका मतलब ये समझा,
if you are curious means that if you have the need for the answers to this. I have seen it, I have understood it. If you are curious, you will understand it. If you have the need to understand it, you will certainly understand it. If you don't have the need, you certainly won't understand it. Then no one can explain it to you. And I believe, I trust that you do have the need to understand.
जीवन एक ऐसा वस्तु है जो कि शरीर से जो कुछ भी काम करता है, शरीर की आवश्यकता से अधिक हो ही जाता है। यह सहज प्रक्रिया है।
So Jeevan is such an entity that all it does with the help of the body, that all that it performs, all that it does through the body, it ends up attaining a lot more than the needs of the body. This is a natural process.
इन सहज प्रक्रिया को भी देखा हूं, इसी आधार पर वो जीवन को भी देखा हूं, जीवन और शरीर के संयुक्त रूप में मनुष्य को देखा हूं।
I have seen this natural process. I have seen the Jeevan, and I have seen the human, which is in the form of a composite of this Jeevan and the body.
अभी तक हमारे सम्मुख क्या समस्या थी? हम अध्यवसायिक विधि से जीवन बोधन कराने में असमर्थ रहे।
What was the major difficulty in front of us up till now? Our difficulty was that through the prevalent methods, we were unable to understand the Jeevan, or we were unable to explain the Jeevan.
अस्तित्व बोध कराने में असमर्थ रहे। जो कुछ भी विज्ञान ने अस्तित्व को बोध कराने गया, वो अंततोगत्वा अस्तित्व को एक अनिश्चयता की कगार में मानते हुए अपने ढंग, अपने अर्थ को, वही संघर्ष के अर्थ को, जो अभी पहले बताया, कामोन्माद, भोगोन्माद और लाभोन्माद के अर्थ में।
And we couldn't explain existence. When science tried to explain existence, it ended up explaining it in terms of uncertainty and indefiniteness. And the meaning that it gave, its own meaning, that is the meaning that it ascribed to existence, was struggle. Like I mentioned earlier, Kamonma, sex-obsessed psychology, consumption-obsessed sociology, and profit-obsessed economics. This is the mentality of struggle, essentially. This is just me explaining. This is the mentality of struggle, which science has ascribed to the universe also. It's a mentality within ourselves. This mentality of struggle was within science, and therefore they ascribed it to existence and to the world.
संघर्ष करने के लिए, अपने हवीसों को पूरा करने के लिए वो अपना व्याख्याएं देते रहे, हम उसको स्वीकारते रहे, स्वीकार करके हम जब उसके द्वारा गुजरते हैं, वो हमारे लिए तृप्ति का आधार नहीं बना.
So to struggle and to fulfill one's whims and desires regarding pleasures, they kept providing such logics of struggle in existence. And they kept providing such explanations and such logics, and we kept accepting them. But upon accepting them, when we tried to live accordingly, we found that it was not satisfactory.
इस ढंग से हम अंतर्विरोधी होकर के जीते रहे.
In this way, we can continue to live with internal contradictions.
अभी जो प्रस्ताव आपके सम्मुख प्रस्तुत हो रही है, इसकी एक ही बात है. क्या बात है?
Now the proposal that I am presenting in front of you, that is being presented in front of you, there is only one thing that is being proposed here. What is that one thing?
हमको समझना ही है, हमारा जैसा आपको भी समझना है. मैं जांचता हूं अपने में, वैसे ही आपको भी जांचना है.
That we must understand. Just like I understand within myself, similarly you must understand within yourself. Just like I verify within myself, similarly you must verify within yourself.
और जांच करके जब आप तृप्त होते हो, वो दूसरे के लिए हम अपने को अर्पित करना होगा.
And when you feel that you are fulfilled upon checking within yourself, within verifying this, after verifying this knowledge within yourself, then you have to become the basis of sharing this with others, with a third person.
दूसरे व्यक्ति को हम समझा पाए, तब हम हमारे में, मुझ में यह विश्वास होता है कि हम समझ गए हैं.
If you are able to explain it to a third person, then I feel within myself, I feel confident within myself that, okay, I have understood.
जब तक हम दूसरों को समझा नहीं पाते हैं, तब तक हम समझ गए हैं, इसका प्रमाण ही कहा है.
Until the time we are able to explain the same to someone else, where is the proof that we ourselves have understood?
ये एक कसौटी है. समझदार हो गए, इसका कसौटी.
This is one condition, the condition that we have attained some understanding, that we have become knowledgeable.
क्या होगा भाई? वो मुझ में जो अनुभव हुई है, वो ये है. समझदारी में हम सहअस्तित्व को देखा है. सहअस्तित्व में मानव अपने परिवार की आवश्यकता से अधिक उत्पादन कर समृद्धि का अनुभव कर सकता है. व्यवहार में हर मोड़ मुद्दे में मनुष्य का समझदारी समाधान के रूप में ही ध्रुवीकरण होता है.
So what is this understanding that we must verify? I have experienced, so this experienced anubhav hua hai is a particular word, and it will be used in a very particular sense. It's a very pure experience within oneself one has seen, and that is what he is calling Anubhav, I have experienced coexistence. And I have seen that in coexistence, humans can live in a state of resolution and in a state of prosperity. And the state of prosperity is that humans can produce much more than is required by their family.
समझदारी समाधान के रूप में ही ध्रुवीकरण होता है.
Right. And humans can, in coexistence, humans can live in a state of resolution in all their behavior and in their work. So here behavior is defined as all the interactions one has with other human beings, and work is all the interactions one has with non-human entities. So I have seen that within coexistence, humans can live in resolution in all their behavior and in their work. And the ultimate and finally, resolution is the anchoring point for all understanding. Without resolution, there is no understanding. I hope the word resolution is clear. It's being used in the sense of there being the existence of solution, it being resolved in the sense that there are no problems. It's flowing smoothly. I'll just play this again.
सहअस्तित्व में मानव अपने परिवार की आवश्यकता से अधिक उत्पादन कर समृद्धि का अनुभव कर सकता है. व्यवहार में हर मोड़ मुद्दे में मनुष्य का समझदारी समाधान के रूप में ही ध्रुवीकरण होता है.
In coexistence, humans can produce more than the needs of their families, and in any sort of juncture of behavior, in any situation, they can evidence resolution in their behavior. And it is only in this resolved behavior that understanding can actually be anchored, that we can truly say that there is some real understanding when all their behaviors are resolved.
इन तीनों बातों को हमने देखा है, जिसको हम अध्ययन कराने आगे इसी का अध्ययन कराएंगे.
All these 3 points I have seen, and as we move forward, I will help you see them and help you study these as well.
तो इन अध्ययन क्रम में जब हमको समझदारी आती है, उसको हम प्रमाणित करने के क्रम में हम बहुत बड़ा दूर तक हम फैल जाते हैं, जबकि शरीर इतने में ही रहता है.
And what I saw was that in evidencing this understanding of coexistence, we stretch far beyond the limits of our particular Jeevan and body that we are running as a human. Although the body is limited, however, the evidence stretches far and wide.
बड़ा दूर तक हम फैल जाते हैं, जबकि शरीर इतने में ही रहता है जितना लंबाई चौड़ाई रहती है. हमारा समझदारी दूर तक फैलता है. जैसा अभी आप ही हम एक कर्म कर रहे हैं, जो मानव के लिए जो एक प्रस्ताव प्रस्तुत कर रहे हैं, ये स्वयं में अपने आप से एक व्यक्ति की लंबाई चौड़ाई ऊंचाई की जगह में से बहुत दूर तक फैलने वाली चीजें है.
Right. So while the body remains limited to its length and breadth, our understanding stretches far and wide. Just like this current program that we are a part of, this current activity of ours, in that my understanding is spread much beyond the limits of my one entity, of my one body. It is reaching much further than that. It is reaching you, and now here all of us also.
इसी प्रकार हर मनुष्य में वो मादा है, हर मनुष्य में वो योग्यता है, वो हर मनुष्य में वो अरमान है, हर मनुष्य में ऐसा एक उत्साह जगाया जा सकता है. कैसे?
Similarly, in each human, there is this same capacity there is the same capability, there is the same hope, arman, ambition, and there is the same enthusiasm that can be infused in each individual, in each human, to spread much beyond their bodily limits in this way.
समझदारी के अर्थ में ये
In
इस
terms
प्रस्ताव
of
का मतलब।
understanding. That is the meaning of this
इस
proposal.
विधि से हम यहाँ पहुंचे। विज्ञान अपने में एक सीढ़ी है, उसके पहले की सीढ़ी एक आदर्शवाद है, उसके पहले जो सीढ़ी है कलाकारी, ग्राम और कबीला, समाज, संसार है, उसके पहले जो भटकता हुआ, जो जंगल में भटकता हुआ और शिलायुग में सिर कूटता हुआ, ये एक सीढ़ी है। इस ढंग से ये सीढ़ियां लग करके हम यहाँ तक पहुंचे हैं।
In this way, we have understood that science too is one step. And before this step, there was the step of idealism or mystical idealism, which came after the step of Gram Kabilas, village and tribes, and before which came the step of artisans and so before idealism, I think he said there was artisans and the village and the tribe, and before that there was the Stone Age, where we were basically banging our head and wandering around aimlessly, having not yet figured out our potential, even in terms of artisanship. I think that's an interesting sequence he talked about. I just hope I covered them all. Yeah, that was it. Jungle mein bhatakta hua shilayog. So, wandering around and stumbling around the jungles in the Stone Age, he calls it.
इस उपकार को अपने को स्वीकारना चाहिए और इसके लिए हम कृतज्ञ हों।
This progress that we have made, this evolution that we have undergone, and to reach science, that we should accept and we should be grateful for it.
ये दूसरा एक स्थिति में हम पहुंच गए। ये
Sorry, it's time now. I just realized it's 7:40. I'll pause and ask if you have any questions or thoughts or comments regarding all that we covered today or before that.
Hi. So
No.
no comments. As today it went very smooth. I think there are one or two words which I will listen again here. They were complex. Try to listen to this recording, and if there's anything, I'll come back tomorrow. But most of it was smooth today, very smooth.
Sure. If you find there's some word that I maybe missed in translating, kind of skipped over, or you couldn't catch, just point it out then. So then I'll also revisit. Sometimes I feel like I've missed a couple of words.
Yes, I'll make a point that I do that immediately, because I was also feeling that it might feel very dry now. You're talking and you're not receiving any response. So if there is little bit of a response of understanding, it might make it more lively for you also.
Yeah, it's okay either way actually. But yeah, it's always nicer when there's engagement.
Yes.
Manjuji?
Yeah, I was just thinking that each chapter, let me call it chapter, each day what we do is clear. I don't know where the link is coming, how to link it up, but he's speaking what he's speaking. He knows. I don't know how to put in a chain. So if you think that he says you should understand it in such a way that you can, express it again. I have no idea what I read the first day, second day, third day. Each day is okay. Today I'm very clear, and some things are clicking properly. But where I don't know the path and the route and the curve he's taking, where and how it's going. That's keeping me a little Maybe
I'll
it's got to be
place
done
a
a few times.
right. I'll also try to
Mm.
summarize a bit more in detail, maybe in the beginning when we start, to
Mm.
kind of
Mm.
trace the journey we've taken up till the
Ah.
point we reached.
Maybe by tomorrow I'll catch up and then I'll have my notes in front of me.
Okay,
Few
okay,
points.
yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
draw a roadmap.
Yeah. I think I'm also in
Yeah.
this sort of frame of mind where I feel like I should try to cover as much of the recording as possible. So I try to give as little of my own kind of connections throughout.
Which is good, which is
And
good in a way.
yeah, so maybe I can do that in the beginning before we start, just to kind of trace
Yeah.
what all we've gone over. And
Mm.
then if there are questions, then we'll take those on towards the end. But otherwise, I'll try to stick to the what he's saying and then do all the interpretation and all the linking up in the beginning and in the end. With
So
more
I
of it,
think,
maybe.
so when that, the class, when the workshop when we go to, they also follow this pattern, the one he's speaking, or they have formed another pattern now?
Yeah, everyone comes up with a pattern of their own somewhat, because as Baba puts it, actually, you can come at it from all directions and build towards the center. So depending on how each facilitator has understood it and the paths and links that they followed, they design their workshops according to that. But overall, one, finds all the topics getting covered at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like in the workshop, there's a pattern, no? Something happens and the next thing, and there's a
Yeah.
But in this, like, it's more, this is very interesting, but story, well, the continuation is not there. Anyway, that is homework. That is the homework.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that leaves the scope of finding our own patterns and making our own connections.
Yeah.
And
I imagine it as this sort of, this huge funnel, which has this one point at the center when everything else is arising out of it in this sort of funnel shape. And you can catch it from any end and everyone catches it from different ends and reaches the same point. So it's, our own creativity and also our own curiosities and our own preparedness. We all come with different questions in life. So as he was mentioning earlier, our needs determine what we receive also. He can be telling us everything, but if that answer isn't yet a question for us, we won't receive it. So whatever, we all have questions naturally. There are needs that exist in all of us, but we receive according to that only. And so then we also share according to that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
See
So
you
we'll pause
tomorrow.
here then. See you.
Tomorrow is the weekend. No, so tomorrow no class.
Is it? Tomorrow's
Tomorrow's Friday.
Oh.
Weekend is Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. Tomorrow's I thought today was Friday for some reason. Okay. That's good.
Okay, see you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dishta.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.